Every culture has one, a hero so powerful that even the gods were afraid of him. The Greeks had Hercules, the Norse had Thor. India had someone who made both of them look ordinary. He lifted a mountain, the entire mountain, because his friend needed medicine and he couldn't find the right herb. He set an entire island on fire with his tail. He swallowed the sun whole when he was a baby because he thought it was a fruit. His name is Hanuman, and the story of how he came into this world is unlike anything you have ever heard, because Hanuman was not simply born. He was assembled, piece by piece, blessing by blessing, through a curse, a stolen dessert, a heartbroken wind god, and 12 years of a woman sitting completely still on a mountain, praying. This is where it all began. In the celestial heavens of Indra, where gods live and apsaras dance and time moves differently than it does on earth, there lived a nymph named Punjikasthala. She was breathtakingly beautiful, gifted with grace, talent, and a spirit that lit up every room she entered. She danced in the courts of Indra. She laughed with the gods, but Punjikasthala had one flaw that would change her destiny completely. She was proud, careless, and sometimes she simply could not control herself. One day, the great sage Rishi Durvasa came to visit Lord Indra. He was deep in serious conversation, words of cosmic importance, matters of the universe. When Punjikasthala kept moving in and out of the hall, her movements distracted, her laughter disrupted, and the sage's concentration shattered. Durvasa, known across all three worlds for the terrifying power of his anger, turned to her and cursed her. "You who cannot control yourself, you shall leave this heaven. You shall be born on earth as a monkey." Punjikasthala fell to her knees. She begged. She wept. Durvasa, moved slightly by her grief, softened the curse, but only slightly. "You will marry a monkey king on earth, and you will be freed only when you give birth to a son who is an incarnation of Shiva himself." The words were spoken, the curse was set, and Punjikasthala's life in heaven was over. Punjikasthala was born on earth as Anjana, daughter of a monkey king living in the forests and mountains of ancient India. But she was not broken by her fall from heaven. She carried within her the grace of an apsara, the memory of celestial music, and the quiet dignity of someone who knows their suffering has a purpose. She met Kasari, a powerful and noble Vanara king, a ruler of Kishkinda, and despite everything the curse had taken from her, she found in him something real, something grounded. They married. They built a life. But the deepest prayer of Anjana's heart remained unanswered. She longed for a child. And so Anjana prayed, not casually, not briefly. She performed penance for years, sitting in absolute stillness on mountain peaks, eating nothing, drinking only water, surrendering everything to her devotion. She prayed to Lord Shiva. She asked him to come to her as a son, to fulfill through birth what the curse had promised. Shiva, who sees all things, who is moved not by grand gestures but by genuine devotion, listened. He was pleased, and somewhere across the universe, the threads of destiny began to rearrange themselves. Far away in the kingdom of Ayodhya, a king was also praying. King Dasharatha had everything a man could want: power, wealth, a kingdom that stretched to the horizon. But he had no children, no heir, no one to carry his name forward. And so he performed the Putrakameshti yagna, a sacred fire ritual so powerful, so rare that it could move the heavens themselves. The fire blazed, the priests chanted, the smoke rose to the sky, and Agni Dev, the god of fire, emerged from the flames. He carried a golden vessel of sacred kheer. divine blessed pudding and gave it to Dasharatha to share among his queens. What happened next would change everything. Dasharatha took the divine kheer and walked toward his 3 queens. He gave a portion to Kaushalya, a portion to Kaikeyi, and as he was about to give the last portion to his youngest queen Sumitra, a bird came from nowhere. It swept down with the speed of wind itself, snatched the golden vessel right from the king's hand, Mahans, and disappeared into the sky. The court was in chaos. But this was not an accident. This was not a thief. This bird, some say it was a celestial being waiting to be freed from its own curse, was following a plan far older than any of them could understand. The kheer fell from the bird's claws as it flew, and the wind caught it. Vayu, the god of wind, was waiting. Under the instruction of Lord Shiva himself, Vayu caught the falling kheer. Gently, perfectly, not a single drop spilled, and he carried it across the sky, over forests, over rivers, over sacred mountains, to the place where Anjana sat in her years of penance. She heard a voice, a divine voice carried on the wind. "Open your hands." Anjana obeyed. The sacred kheer landed in her palm, still warm, still glowing, carrying within it the blessings of Agni, the power of Vayu, and the grace of Shiva. A heavenly voice told her to eat, and Anjana, who had prayed for years for exactly this, brought the kheer to her lips. The moment she swallowed the sacred kheer, the mountain trembled. The stars above Kishkinda seemed to brighten, the wind stilled, the rivers paused. Something had entered this world that the world had been waiting for. Anjana felt it immediately, a warmth that was not warmth, a light that was not light. Something divine taking root inside her. Lord Shiva had kept his promise. Vayu had fulfilled his role. The universe had conspired and Anmo through a yagna, a bird, a falling vessel, and years of quiet devotion to bring one soul into existence, a soul unlike any other. And then, on a golden morning, on a sacred mountain in Kishkinda, Hanuman was born. He came into this world glowing, not metaphorically, literally glowing, like a small sun had descended from the sky and taken the form of a child. Anjana held him and wept, not from pain, from the overwhelming recognition that her years of waiting, her years of penance, her years of quietly trusting that something divine was coming, had not been wrong. The heavens celebrated. Flowers fell from the sky. Divine beings gathered above the mountain. Even the wind, Vayu himself, seemed to exhale with something like relief. He was here. He had 3 names from the moment of his birth: Anjaneya, son of Anjana; Kesarinandan, son of Kesari; Pavanputra, son of the wind. And one day, the whole world would know all 3. Hanuman was from his very first days, unlike any child the world had ever seen. He could fly. He could change his size. He had the strength of 1,000 warriors packed into a body barely bigger than a fruit, and he had absolutely no idea how to behave. One morning when he was very young, sunbrought and very hungry, Hanuman looked up at the sky and saw the sun. It was round. It was bright. It was enormous. It looked to a divine baby with no experience and infinite confidence, exactly like the most delicious fruit he had ever seen. And so with the complete certainty of a child who has never once been told he cannot do something, Hanuman leaped toward the sun. Indra, the king of gods, the guardian of heaven, saw a small child flying directly toward the sun at full speed. He panicked. He raised his Vajra, the most powerful weapon in the heavens, a thunderbolt forged from divine lightning, and he struck the child. Hanuman fell from the sky. His jaw struck the earth. and he lay still. The entire mountain went silent. And then something happened that no one had expected. Vayu, the wind god, the father who had given Hanuman his divine breath, his very life force, felt his son fall, and he stopped the wind. Without wind, there is no breath. Without breath, there is no life. Every living being in every world began to suffocate. Gods clutched their throats. Animals collapsed. Rivers slowed. Fires died. The universe was running out of air. And all of it, every gasp, every silent panic, was because of one small child lying on a mountain. The gods rushed to Brahma, to Shiva, to anyone who could help. Shiva descended to earth. He placed his hand on Hanuman, and life returned to the child, breath returning with the warmth of a god's touch. Vayu exhaled, and the world breathed again. But the gods understood now. This child was not ordinary. This child could not simply be struck down and forgotten. This child had a father who would stop the universe for him. And then, one by one, the gods came to give their gifts. Brahma gave Hanuman immunity from the Brahmastra. The most powerful weapon in existence could not kill him. Surya, the sun god, the very one Hanuman had tried to eat, smiled and gave him the gift of radiance and wisdom. Indra, ashamed of what his Vajra had done, gave him a boon, that the Vajra could never harm him again. Varuna blessed him with protection from water, Agni from fire. Shiva gave him longevity and indestructibility. Each god came forward. Each gave what they had. And baby Hanuman sat in the center of it all, the small, glowing, absolutely chaotic child, receiving blessings that would take an entire lifetime to understand. He was perhaps the most gifted being ever to walk the earth, and he didn't know a single thing about any of it. This was the beginning. A celestial nymph who laughed at the wrong moment. A curse that sent her to earth. Years of penance. A falling vessel of sacred kheer. A wind that refused to let anything be lost. And out of all of it, a child who glowed like the sun, who tried to eat the sun, who brought the entire universe to a standstill before he was even old enough to walk properly. Hanuman would grow up. He would learn. He would forget everything he was capable of, and then remember it all at the moment the world needed him most. But that is a story for next time. This has been Shrunoti, ancient Indian stories told the way they were meant to be heard. If Hanuman's birth moved you, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and come back next week. Because the next chapter of Hanuman's story is where things get truly extraordinary.